Hey, what's going on, guys? You are now in the presence of post-gym, post-nasal rinse, and post-shower Josh, so I apologize if I sound all stuffy and weird. But we have some pretty serious stuff to talk about. Sorry, I don't really have like a tear duct in this eye, so whenever I do a nasal rinse, like water just pours out of it. While I was at the gym picking up and putting down some of the heaviest stuff I could find, I was informed that affirmative action has been removed from schools and their admission criteria for acceptance rates. On the surface, I think that there's a lot of myopic looking around or overlooking or simply ignoring of a very obvious and glaring issue with the removal of affirmative action. And to give you guys a very basic understanding of what affirmative action is, basically, back in the 60s during the civil rights movement, there was a law passed that enforced businesses and schools to have a minimum but necessary amount of multicultural backgrounded people in their schools. So basically, it gave minorities in America at the time the opportunity to go to school and receive a higher education, if not an education at all. And as of yesterday, that has been turned off. So now schools essentially are going to be able to have free reign over who they accept in and who they disallow into their schools. There are some, at least to me, very obvious issues with that. Any school can at any point determine, hey, I don't want to accept any black people this year, or I don't want to accept any Asian people this year, or I don't want to accept any Hispanic people this year in favor of one race over the other. So that can artificially restrict what kind of people are allowed into the workforce after a 4-year bachelor completion, or it could artificially restrict what people are studying certain topics moving forward into the next 4 or 5 years that you would usually see a master's or PhD student go through. A lot of you have probably been seeing the memes where it's like the Asians are like, yeah, all of our 4.0s are finally going to pay off and all of that. And to some extent, that is possibly true. With better grades, a school will likely accept you more. But that does not necessarily guarantee the school is going to accept you. With this removal of affirmative action, if the school decides we are accepting exclusively Indian people this year, regardless of how good your 4.0 is, if you're black or Chinese or white, you aren't getting into X college. Let's say another college, Arizona State University, let's say they decided, hey, you know what? In engineering, we have too many Middle Eastern students. From here on out, or for the next 4 years, we're going to be accepting exclusively white people. They now have the freedom to just do that. Obviously, that's a pretty extreme case, but with the check and balance system being removed, schools can just decide they want to do that. And a school can be heavily swayed based on sponsors, right? I went to engineering school. I went to the Polytech campus at ASU, so a lot of my examples are going to come from engineering and that workforce. But a lot of ASU's biggest sponsors come from large defense contractors like Northrop Grumman or Boeing, or they come from more private engineering companies like Intel, a semiconductor company that I actually happen to work at. But let's say those companies want to have a certain demographic coming in, right, in the next 4 years or so. They could sway ASU's opinion on who they accept with a little bit of money, right? My senior project was sponsored by Honeywell. And let's say Honeywell wants to have only black people in about 4 years. They want to hire 10 black dudes, mechanical engineers, aerospace engineers in the next 4 years. They may tell ASU, hey, why don't you take a whole year of only black dudes in the mechanical engineering program? That now takes away the opportunity from Asian students, or that may take away the opportunity from white students. It has an effect that is much further along the stream than just, hey, now schools get to pick who gets to get in, and it's going to be the best grades. It's a little bit bigger than that. I hate to keep spamming on the engineering examples, but they're all I've got. So on my way out of high school, I had a 30 score on my ACT, and I had a 3.55 GPA. When I applied to ASU, the first program I wanted was the Autonomous Systems Engineering degree. And the requirements for that were a 3.5 and like a 24 on the ACT. So I was literally meeting it. In fact, I was doing a little bit better from an ACT and from a GPA standpoint. Got turned down. My second choice was aerospace engineering. Same degree requirements, got turned down. Polytech campus had an automotive engineering program. I don't even think I applied for it, but I qualified for it, so they said, you can do this. So I'm like, okay, I just need to get into college and I'll change my major later. And that's what I got into. Keep in mind, when you apply, you do specify your race. I'm not saying that there's a racial play there, but the fact that they got pushed to automotive engineering with the possibility to design a new Hellcat, I don't know. But the point is, even if you have the degree requirements, that does not necessarily guarantee you a spot in. So everyone making all these memes and saying like, yeah, Asians aren't up now, there's no guarantee that because you have a 4.5 and you can do all these extracurriculars and public service hours and blah, 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 that does not guarantee you a spot into whatever degree you want. I had to get in through automotive, and then I changed my major to mechanical at the last minute after lying to my advisor. So it can kind of depend. It can very heavily depend on what the school is wanting, what demographic they are trying to meet, and what kind of image they're trying to push. If they say they don't want a bunch of females in STEM this next set of 4 years, that's not going to happen. And you don't really have much control over that. You can go to a different university, but guess what? A lot of universities talk. ASU, U of A, GCU, they all have connections with each other. A lot of times they go into big projects with large sponsored companies, and they will say, hey, we're going to do this thing, this thing, this thing. Can you pay for it? And then those companies will say, sure. And then they'll sponsor the projects, and the companies might get a little bit of sway on that. So if they don't want females in the industry, let's say for the next 4 years, from Arizona state universities or private universities, they can cut that out. They can put an immediate moratorium, or at the very least, they can start to narrow out that push for it. They can narrow it out. And with the removal of affirmative action, that becomes that much easier. The amount of mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging morons in these comment sections is embarrassing. People saying, like, black people stay mad, Asian people welcome to easy mode, Hispanic dudes good luck. It's embarrassing to hear these people say this stuff, because this is bigger than that. Not even 60 years ago, if it wasn't for affirmative action, that chick, Ruby Bridges or whatever, the first black girl to go to white school, she wouldn't have been able to do that. She wouldn't have been able to get us to the point where we are, where it's normal for black people to be in school. She had rocks thrown at her on her way into her kindergarten class. She had to be escorted by the police to a classroom where the teacher then made her sit away from everybody else. That was 60 years ago, people. 60 years is not that long ago. Your parents quite possibly could have been throwing rocks at that little girl. College is about interacting with many people from many different backgrounds. Growing up, I went to mostly white religious high school, junior high, elementary school. When I got to college, instantaneously, I made ride or die friends with a Chinese dude, Korean dude, Hispanic dude, half white, half black dude. Prior to that moment, I'd never had a black friend in my life. Ever, right? That shouldn't be the case. We should have that kind of diversity all the time. That's what helps us grow as people. That's what helps us understand the other cultures on the planet that we share with other people. That is what gives us depth to each and every one of our characters. So colleges having the freedom to now artificially restrict that however they see fit can be dangerous. I think it is innately dangerous for that to be the case. That's about all I had, but if you guys want to jump into the toxic racism that's going to be my comment section, I'd appreciate a comment and a like. And if you really are feeling spicy, a subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. That'd be really cool. Otherwise, I'll see you on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/AnySquid. I'm live at 9:30 p.m. MST every single day except Wednesday and Thursday. Otherwise, you guys have a good one. See you later. Be good. Don't go to college if it's going to be all one race. That's weird. Don't be weird. Bye.